Hey guys, what's up? This is Eddie Gray, producer, composer out here in LA. This course is brought to you by hfmusicacademy.com, and I'm so happy to be able to talk about one of the most perplexing and eccentric, mystic subjects out in music production today, and that's compression. Now, I'm going to explain to you exactly why people do not thoroughly understand and grasp the concept of compression. But before we do, we're going to start with a quote. The modern producer is now required by necessity to learn how to wear several hats. He, she must know how to engineer, compose, sound design, arrange, mix, and master their own music. And if that wasn't enough, we have to learn every facet of music. If I had to break down what mixing is, if I had to break down the art of mixing and mastering in modern music production, I would basically break it up into four cornerstones: EQ, compression, reverb, delay, all things effects, and then imaging, how you position them, the front to back placement, the width. That would be the last cornerstone. So this course will be central on the topic of compression. So the reason it's really hard to understand is because of this. Check it out. Of all the processes used in modern music production, compression is perhaps the least understood. Why? Well, one reason is compression's sonic results are often subtle and they're very hard to hear. And I'm going to give you an example of that in a second. Also, there are various and differing compressor control parameters and various types of models. So this course right here is going to help you understand compression. My aim is to demystify it and make it very digestible so you can finally grasp this concept. I'm going to get into all of the nitty-gritty. Okay, I'm going to give you actual examples, and I'll also be giving you exercises for you to do this so you can actually conquer the subject. It's not enough just to listen to somebody pontificate on the subject. You have to actually do the work so you could learn the inner workings of the subject. So let me go ahead and just start off by giving you a couple of audio examples, okay? And then we're going to talk a lot more extensively about compression. All right, check this out. Okay, so I'm going to give you some live examples of what compression sounds like. Now, I want you to bear in mind before we get into this very basic description that it is much more complicated than this, okay? But if I paint the picture now and I give you an overview, once we get into all of the minute details, we will go ahead and start to create a better picture of compression overall. So here on track number 1, I've got a Logic stock string instrument drawn up, and if I play it, you'll hear that it has a lot of dynamics, meaning it can go and perform very light and soft. And then if I hit the MIDI controller at the top of its range, which is 127 velocity, it'll sound much louder like this. And so between the most basic velocities like 20, 15, and 127, here we will find the difference between the loudest and the quietest parts. Well, if I go ahead and record a basic part. Okay, you can hear that this performance is completely off balance. And this happens to musicians, singers, all the time. They're performing something and it's not steady. You'll have certain parts that are very loud in comparison to the others. For example, here we can see that the velocity is very light. The velocity is at 42. And then when we get to bar 29, it goes above and beyond to 99, right? So let's listen to that. Now, of course, I'm exaggerating for all intents and purposes, but what I want you to do is look at the compressor. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and change the size of it so we can really get our eyeballs on it. And what's happening here is that the compressor, when turned on, and by design you set it up in such a way where it controls the source signal, in this case the strings, what's going to happen is that it's going to regulate the loudest signal from the quietest signal. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set this up, and I want you to not only look at the meter but the graph view as well, so you can see how much of the signal is actually being compressed. And another way of thinking about compression, or another way to state it, is how much of the signal is being attenuated or pushed down. Check it out. Okay, so you can see that there was some compression towards the middle as soon as I started lifting up the threshold, and again we will go over these controllers. But if I play this back now without the compression, close your eyes and let's listen to the details, okay? Okay, and then now I'll play that back again with the compressor on. So essentially what's going on is that we're finding a happy medium. We're leveling out the dynamic range of the performance. Okay, let me go ahead and play that one more time. So this is the entire performance with no compression. Actually, you know what? Let me just play that first half with the compression now. Check it out. So, without the compression, you hear a big difference between the quietest parts and the loudest parts. Whereas when the compressor is on, it's essentially leveling out the performance. The quietest parts are just about as loud as the loudest parts, and the loudest parts are just about as quiet as the quietest parts. Check it out. And so that's the way we're going to start. There's a lot more to cover. There's a lot more details to hash out, and we will definitely get to it. But what we are treating, or what we are looking at, is dynamic range. Okay? In the next video, we are going to cover what is dynamic range and why exactly are we compressing it anyway. Okay. All right, team. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much for watching.